Hello and welcome, fearless writers. For those of you that are new, my name is Barrett Laurie and I run this channel. This interview series weekly talk show is AuthorTube centered, and we focus on the authors and author entrepreneurs and how they build their businesses and brands online. Today, I am excited to be welcomed by JC Carpenter. JC Carpenter is not only a friend, she is a freelance writer and editor based in Maryland. In 2012, she created Right to Be Media, an umbrella for multiple artistic endeavors that further spread her message of self-acceptance, self-love, and embracing the right to be authentic and unapologetic about who you were meant to be, which include the Right to Be blog and Right to Be magazine. JC Carpenter has been writing steadily since the age of 10 and has dedicated herself to the power of words and her passion for writing. In addition to writing regularly for her own blog, she also writes articles on health, lifestyle, self-help, and writing craft. She has a bachelor's degree in communications and a master's degree in psychology. JC Carpenter is currently working on her second and third novels, When Love Calls and Hidden Beneath the Sun, a Mackenzie Brown mystery. She is also working towards producing her first nonfiction book for writers, For the Crazy Makers, a spiritual motivation guide, writers who self-sabotage. She hopes that through living out her dreams, she can inspire someone else to realize theirs and not be afraid to dream big. And with that, let me welcome my friend, JC Carpenter. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Technical problems be damned. Here we are. JC saved my bum this week by replacing Chris and Amelia Kinney, who were supposed to have been my guests this Monday, but they came down on a date with the Rona, and so they are not able to be here until the end of the month, when we will be talking all about their love story and their fairy tale wedding in New York and all about writing romance books. If you were expecting the Kinneys, you are instead getting me and JC Carpenter this week, which is even better. So you're welcome. JC, will you tell folks about where they can find you online?
You can find me here on YouTube, author JC Carpenter, also on my Right to Be blog, my Right to Be magazine, and Facebook and Twitter, not on Instagram.
So tell me 3 things that I cannot tell by looking at you.
I love to sing, I love to cook, and I used to, once upon a time, desire to be an actress.
I love that. And so tell me a little bit about the acting piece. Where did that bug come from? Were you part of community theater or theater in school, or where does that come from? Where does that stem from?
When I used to write my little stories in my room, I used to like the dramatization of acting them out. So I love the idea of acting out the words people put on paper. But the reality of it was that I had incredible, terrible stage fright. So I just stuck to the background and worked behind the scenes in the drama club.
And look at you now with a YouTube channel, just the extrovert.
It's crazy.
So who are your biggest supporters in your life, but more specifically in your writing career? So who are the people that always cheer you on?
My best friend, Lominique Hamilton, who I met in college at Morgan State University. One of my other best friends, Oni Harrison, who I went to high school with. And the AuthorTube community is probably my biggest supporters.
I love that. We hope to be. You're recently an empty nester. You are a single mama. How are you adjusting to the reality of being home alone?
It's almost like I'm not an empty nester, really, because she comes home on the weekends. It's somewhat like nothing has changed, but I do enjoy the periods when she's not here. Don't tell her I said that, because I get to walk around my house in peace and not have to worry about random noises emanating from her room.
Well, and I think that's every parent a little bit. You know, there's some missing of your little bird, but also so glad your little bird is off flying. So
yes, fly away.
Fly away, little bird. So if you weren't an author, what would you be?
Singer. In another life, I would have been all 3, an actress, a singer, and a writer.
Will you be joining Margaret and I for our karaoke show?
Absolutely. I can't wait. I was in the car yesterday driving to get my daughter, and I was like, oh, okay, I could sing this one for karaoke. I could sing, no, don't sing that one, because I am no longer a soprano. I am more of an alto now. I was prepping the songs.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. If you could change one thing in the world, what would it be?
It sounds cheesy, but I want peace.
No, it does not sound cheesy right now. I think now is a time where we all can agree.
I just want everyone to accept people's differences, embrace them, and not be so chaotic. It's just, everything is just so chaotic right now. And if we could just love each other, it would be such a better place.
What is one book? I know you're an avid reader because I watch your vlogs and you talk a lot about reading. What would you say is your one book that you read in 2021 that you've been telling others they need to read? What was your starfish for last year?
And it's a nonfiction book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, I think. I hope I'm not saying his name wrong. But
Yeah.
Atomic Habits, I think everybody pretty much knows that book, what that book
I,
is. But
I have not heard a thing about it. So what is
really,
what is kind of the premise?
it's just talking about restructuring the way you think about productivity and the way you do things in terms of, I guess, not it encouraged not trying to get so much done versus creating a habit that works so you can work smarter, not necessarily harder.
Harder. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And
cool.
I love
Atomic
that.
Habits.
Yes.
With that, we're going to shift over to talking about your novels, your books, your writing. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to first read the blurb for everyone who is not familiar with your. Is this your debut novel, by the way? The Diary?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the debut, I'm going to read the blurb real quick. What if you discovered that the sins of your mother's past will forever haunt your future? That finding out the secrets she took to her grave would turn your life upside down. To the rest of the world, Corinne Hayes was a brilliant writer and entrepreneur. To Carly Jones, she was not only a mother but a best friend. Until Corinne's unexpected death, Carly thought that she knew everything there was to know about her mother. Then, Carly receives her mother's diary as a farewell gift. The depth of the secrets within those pages end up devastating Carly, forever changing the memory of her mother. The Diary, Succession of Lies, is a novel that exposes the secret life of a mistress. It is a story of love, lust, loss, and redemption that takes us through the trials of two generations of women. The diary gives a different perspective on the image of a mistress, a woman often vilified throughout literature as a harlot and a homewrecker. It tackles several questions as to why a mistress stays. Is love possible in such a taboo relationship? And is love ever really enough to endure the consequences that come later? Tell me this, JC, that's a pretty heavy topic. I read the book, I liked it. Tell me this, where did the idea come from?
It's mostly fictional, but I will say that there is a little bit that's based on some facts. Whew. I don't tell everyone about this, but I was someone's mistress,
I figured that's my next question. So I figured.
unbeknownst to me, in the beginning. I didn't know that in the beginning, but once I knew that it was like too far in and my feelings were too far involved. So it was a little too hard to just walk away. One day my daughter will hear this, but she is the product of that relationship. So
I kind of assumed that from reading the book. You know what I mean? My truly. So I'm going to read you my next question, but we're going to just talk. You know, I'm going to ask some off the cuff questions, but just so you know, this was the question I was worried about. Tell us about Corinne Hayes. The character felt so real, and the desire to paint a different picture of a mistress. How much of Corinne is you? That was my question. So
quite a bit.
I assumed. I mean, genuinely, and not in a bad way. Not in like
I mean, it's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but I mean, it happened. It is what it is. I have my beautiful daughter because of it, and I don't regret her at all.
Right.
Not even for a second. So, I mean, is it a relationship I should have been in? Probably not. But would I have had my daughter if I wasn't? Probably not.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do I regret it that much?
Yeah.
You know, and I loved him. I thought he loved me, whether he did or didn't, and just was caught between the two. I don't know. I don't know his truth. I'm not in his head, but I'd like to think there was some real love on his end as well. Now, the fictional part is I didn't have a second kid.
Right. No, I mean, I think anyone who knows you and reads the book can figure out which parts were real and not.
But I did want to play on the idea of, well, what if I had stayed because if it were up to him, we would have carried on and he would have had the whole two family things going on, and he would have had this life over there and me over here. If it were up to him, that's how he wanted to keep it. And we would have had this whole extended family 1 and family 2, and it would have been like that. So I kind of wanted to play on, well, if that had happened, how would this, have worked out, and what damage would it leave the children once they find out this was what they were a product of,
Right. As a reader, my immediate thought was, will you tell your daughter? Or will she find out the way Carly did?
That is a very good question. I don't.
By the way, I may have no one else who agrees to come on and do an interview with me after this one. Like, this will be the one where people are like, I'm not going on that show.
I mean, well, I did say nothing was off limits. So
yeah, you did. Fairly. I asked you in advance.
I think if she asks the story of how she was created or whatever. She's an adult now, so I would tell her bits and pieces, maybe not all the intimate details, obviously. She hasn't really asked. He hasn't really been a focal part of her life. He was for a couple of years and then he dropped back off, and she doesn't really miss him.
Was this cathartic for you? Being able to write the story, was there, I had the sense as I got to the end that there was a part of you that needed to tell it for yourself, that you needed to tell that story, that it was as much for you as it was for me, the reader. Do you think that it was cathartic for you, and did it do whatever you hoped it would do for you yourself?
You gotta make me cry. Yes, it was, because after I found out everything and everything kind of hit the fan, and I was very angry. I was very enraged, torn, because I still had feelings
You're in
for
love.
him.
I mean, yeah, which again, we see so beautifully in the story. I mean, you see that pull, push pull, right?
Yeah, and so that I had to channel it into something, and it was this book. I think when I wrote this book, it was 6 months that no one in my life heard from me. People were calling me. They were like, "What is going on with you?" I wasn't answering calls. I was sending them to voicemail. I didn't return any calls. I might send a random "I'm okay" text, but I didn't talk to anyone for like the 6 or 7 months that I wrote this book, which is how long it took me to write everything. And people were worried about me. My mother couldn't get in contact with me, which had me having her infant granddaughter really concerned her. I shut everyone out, and I needed to channel it into this book, and I couldn't talk to anyone until it was done.
You just set up another follow-up question. When did you write it?
I want to say when I found out everything, she was about 1.
So 17 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah. You see how long it took it to come out to the world.
Well, that's my next question. You clearly kept it close for a long time. What was your hesitation with publishing it and putting it out there?
Well, this is a republication. It was actually published by a smaller publishing house in 2008, but it didn't have the reach, and I don't know, I don't feel like they did a good enough job putting it out there. And I can't say that I'm really doing much better because I'm not a marketer, but I just felt so strongly about the story that I didn't want to let it die with that publishing house, and I wanted it out there again. So it is technically my debut. It's just a re-release.
How long did you have to wait to get your rights back?
Okay, I got my rights back 2 years ago. Something like, I want to say it was probably before then, and I just didn't know that I had my rights back. But I want to say it was at least 5 years that I didn't read the contract all the way through, and didn't discover that until after the fact.
Yeah.
But
I think you should be really proud of the book, because I think it is really well done. And I love the way that you wove the two stories together using the diary, that we go between past and present. I also think it's so interesting the way you really tell the story through your daughter's eyes, or the character essentially that is based on your daughter.
Right.
I think that was a really smart choice, because I think you're right. I think that in literature, I mean, the ones that you can think of that are classic, like The Scarlet Letter and others, where, it's a very like judgmental view on how these situations can happen. What I loved about yours is it's hard to be judgmental through the eyes of a child, right? And there are those moments, definitely, where Carly's like, what? However, I think as a reader, I think you're able to be more sympathetic, because you're seeing it through the product of that love's eyes, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was
dead. How can you really judge her?
I mean, some do, but I think it's brilliant the way you chose to do that. Was that a deliberate choice, or did it just fit what your soul needed to write?
It wasn't that way the first draft that I wrote. After the first draft I wrote was the diary parts. And then I decided that this story needs to be told through someone else, through the daughter. And I was like, well, I think this should be a story that comes out after she's passed, and a secret she literally took to her grave with her. And so that's kind of how that forged. And then I merged the two.
Last question on the origins of the book, but have you forgiven yourself?
Yes. Took a long time, but yes. I mean, I had, you know how you have those things that you tell yourself you'll never do and you'll never be a part of, and you
Yeah.
watch stuff play out on TV, and
Yeah.
I'll never be that person.
I did most of
Yeah,
them in my early 20s.
well,
Yes,
to
I
be
do.
fair, I was 21 when I got involved with him. So, and I also, because when I got involved with him, I was just coming out of an abusive relationship. So the relationship I was in before him was, you know, both verbally and physically abusive. So I didn't really have a lot of self-worth then. So I'm not necessarily blaming it solely on that, but I have to forgive the younger version of me because I didn't know any better.
Yeah,
And I can't go back and change it. And I don't think I would if I could, because then I wouldn't have my daughter.
exactly. What advice would you give to someone in a similar situation? For the
Know that you are
forgiveness,
worth
for the
it.
forgiveness part, for the part where you say, I fell in love with someone. Was it ideal? No. Did I maybe hurt someone in the process? Possibly, but I didn't intend to. What
Right.
would you tell someone who's coming out of that place and needs to find forgiveness for themselves?
I would tell them that, oh my gosh. I would tell them that, you aren't your mistakes. Just because you made a choice that wasn't a good choice doesn't mean you can't make better choices in the future. When you know better, you do better. And you have to forgive yourself, because I mean, you have to, you can't look backwards, because looking backwards it's not going to help anyone, let alone you. But yeah.
When I got sober, there's a part of the process of the 12-step program where you go and you make amends to the people that you've harmed or you've injured due to your addiction. And one of the people that I went to talk to and make amends with, the friendship had ended due to my behavior, frankly. But
Mhm.
when I went and made things right, what was interesting is the forgiveness that they gave me came with a sentence, which was, I'm sad that we are no longer friends. I'm glad that things are going well for you. Try to remember, what she said to me was, try to remember that you are not the product of your worst day. And
I
that
love
has really
that.
stuck with me, right? Because and it came from someone who I needed forgiveness from, right? For my own soul. Because even though the things I had done were years and years and years ago, and it's not like I stole from them or anything. I essentially acted like a drunken fool and consistently embarrassed this person. So I didn't, it's not like I harmed, but still I had carried the guilt of, the things I had done that I knew had
Right.
embarrassed and impacted that person. And
Right.
I needed them to tell me that so that as I left, I could remember, the worst things I've ever done are not who I am. They
Exactly.
aren't. They're a thing that makes me who I am. They're a part of the whole makeup of who and what I am, but they
Yeah.
don't define me. And I think that is the takeaway from this book for me, is I think for folks to read it, and as you read it, to remind yourself of the things in your life that you may not be as brave as JC to put out there and say, either in fiction or in just in your own life with friends and people around you. So mad props to you for A, writing the story, and then for B, being willing to come on here and openly talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Because I prepped you in advance that I was going to ask you a couple of questions that might make you uncomfortable, and these were them. And to your credit, it would have been fine if you didn't want to answer them, but I think it's great that you did. I know you say over and over you're not a marketer, but
Right.
one of the best things you can do for your book is for at least the community here online, especially in AuthorTube, make sure they know that this story is personal to you, because anybody that is important to you and you're important to them, they'll want to read it to understand
Mhm.
better who you are. I know you better after reading this book.
Aw,
So I think that's important. So I'm going to leave it with that.
thank you. Thank
You're
you.
you're very welcome. So tell me a little bit about your poetry collection, The Art of Love.
Also, revolving around the same person.
Is it really? That's interesting because I read some of them. I want to go back and reread. No, seriously, is that true?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
wow. Okay.
some. I wrote some of them when in the fog of love,
Yes.
and some of them were written when I realized it was not love, or at least not the
Oh.
love that I wanted. So, yeah, there are all different types of love, and some of it's real and some of it's not.
Well, and even some of it that's real at one time doesn't stay real, or it changes as people grow
Yeah.
and adapt. And you've forgiven yourself. Have you opened yourself up to love with anyone else, or are you waiting on some magical time for that to happen in the future?
Oh, I have loved since then.
Good.
It also turned out to be a mistake, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, we don't want
I
to talk
did,
track record because until Ricky, my track record is abysmal. So we're not playing that game.
I did open myself up again. It did not end well, but I'm not opposed to love, but I'm not right now. I'm just focused on my career. So
Yeah.
if someone comes along, great. If I'm not the ghost search type. You won't find me on a dating app looking for love.
I loved the poems. I think you have a real talent for poetry. So I hope you'll do another poetry collection at some point in the
I
future because
have
these
two
both
more.
lovely. Oh, yay! Any
I have
ideas
2 more.
on release dates, times?
Hopefully this year. I just need to get the covers done. They are finished and formatted, and I just need the cover. So,
Wonderful. What
Sato,
other
if you're listening.
what other books can we expect from you this year?
Hopefully my poetry collections. One is called To Love with Sorrow. So you can kind of get
Yeah.
the idea of that. And the other one is called If I Knew Then,
Ah,
dot, dot, dot. I would like to finish editing and revising When Love Calls, which is a novel I actually wrote before the diary. It was my first novel that I actually finished and completed. So it needs a lot of revision. I'm hoping I can somehow get that done this year, but it's a long shot because of how much revision it needs. So
okay. That's still a lot for this year. That's exciting.
I'm trying.
Well, we will be here to cheer you on every step of the way. I am going to switch over to asking you a little bit about your content. So, first things first, let's talk through the series that you have on your channel. Do you have a favorite? And then I'll tell you which one is mine.
I actually love my writing blogs. I don't know if that counts as a series, but
Mhm.
I actually I was hesitant to do them at first because I didn't have the right camera and the right setup, and I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing vlog wise. But I just went for it, and I enjoy doing them, and I hope people enjoy watching them. I mostly do it to kind of hold myself accountable and make sure I'm actually doing something productive during the week. So that's my favorite.
Hmm.
I think I know what other people's favorites are.
Well, I was going to say, what do you think your audience's favorites are?
Masterclass.
I found you originally with a masterclass video. That was
Really?
yeah, that's originally what you were suggested. It was a masterclass video. I can't even remember which one
Oh,
it was now.
was it
Yeah,
Dan Brown? No.
it was one of your like first because this was like a year ago.
Dan Brown was the first. I think Judy Bloom was my second.
Oh no, it might have been Judy Bloom.
Okay.
It might have been Judy Bloom. That would make sense because I read a lot of Judy Bloom. So it would make sense that I'd have been like, ooh, but yeah, that was originally how I found you. So I love that series. What is something that we will see from you in 2022 that's new on your AuthorTube channel space?
Well, I just did the first video in a series about editing and revising my book When Love Calls. Everyone will get to walk with me on that process and see me pull my hair out in the many stages that will probably go through. I have an interview series that's kind of connected to my Right to Be magazine that I hope to be launching in June. I say hope because life happens and you
It
never
happens.
know what's going to be thrown at you. So I have that coming. I have my writing experiment series, but I need some more experiments to try. And yeah, I think that's a lot.
We have one we're working on, but it's not ready to announce yet. We're in the early
Yeah,
stages, but we are working on one together that I'm excited about too. Our goal was by this summer. We're trying.
But
Like, we'll
life
see.
has been happening a lot.
So it's
both
the
of us.
goal.
So
It's the goal. Who is your dream AuthorTube collaboration?
oh, okay. Don't be offended, Barrett. I love you.
Oh,
But
it's not me. Well, offended.
Kate Kavanaugh.
That's a big one. That's so huge.
I love her. And Kate, if you're listening, I okay, so I found AuthorTube via Marissa Mohi, but I stayed with AuthorTube because of Kate Kavanaugh. I discovered her vlogs. I loved her personality. She motivated me. Her and Sarah Cannon also. Something about Kate just makes you want to watch. It makes you want to it motivates you to work. I love her streams. It's probably the most I get done is on her streams or Courtney. Yeah, just that would be my dream collaboration.
I love that. I think
Sorry,
that's
did I fangirl just now about Kate Kavanaugh?
You
Yes,
did, but that's okay. You also, though, recently did a collaboration with Courtney. Courtney invited you on a stream with her, which was a pretty big one too.
Yes, I was so excited and thrilled. That happened because I had a little boy voice in my head named Barrett, who said that I should reach out to those people that I want to co-host or stream with, even if I think they might say no. And on one of Courtney's streams, I said, hey, I have a question, but I don't know how you're going to answer it. And I said, can I co-host one of your streams with you? And she said, sure, absolutely. So, and the rest is history.
The rest, as they say, the worst they can say is no, which,
exactly.
And something tells me something tells me the Kate Kavanaugh one will happen. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Right. I hope so.
I hope so too. So you're on AuthorTube. You're not going anywhere anytime soon. Tell me a little bit about the services that you offer.
I do copy editing, line by line edits. I do not do developmental edits, and I do proofreading. And for now, that's it. I may expand them later, but I think for now that's what I can handle.
Do you do a quote by quote basis, or how do you come to terms with a client?
Right now, I just do a flat fee. Well, I guess it is kind of a quote by quote. It depends. If it's like a 140 something thousand word book, it could be a little higher than what my flat fee is because that's a lot. Most of the people that have reached out to me haven't written a book that size.
So JC, how do you want folks to contact you in order to get one of those quotes?
I can be contacted, email writetobeFreelance@gmail.com.
I'll put it in the description box as well. So if you're looking,
you can also find the email address on any of my websites. So
one of the toughest things for self-publishing and frankly traditional publishing is the refrain I've already heard you say in this interview, which is, I'm not a marketer. How has AuthorTube helped you with your confidence for sales and asking for sales?
Well, I mean, with AuthorTube, obviously I have to talk about myself because my channel is about me. It's made me more confident in talking about myself because I'm not usually the person that likes to focus on myself. I usually like to focus on anyone else but me. I'm usually really good at promoting other people's stuff. It's when it gets to mine that I'm like, oh yeah, I have stuff too. I forgot. But AuthorTube is helping me with that. Meeting people like you who always remind me that, I should be proud of what I'm doing and it's worth promoting because, I didn't put all this blood, sweat, and tears in it for nothing.
Right.
So it's giving me great confidence.
Good. What do you think has been the hardest part about building your platform? I mean, it's like we already hit the heaviest part of the conversation with the talking about the mistress thing 20 minutes ago. It's like you can pretty much say anything and it's not going to be as heavy as that. So it's like, drop it, hit me with it.
It's creating content that is unique, but not repetitive. Yeah, it's hard. And I don't want to do anything that looks like I'm ripping someone off or I'm taking someone's idea, yet it's like everything's been done already. How can I not be taking someone else's idea? And I just try to maybe do things my own way. The whole masterclass series actually came from watching Kate again. Now I can't do the reviews like Kate does. The way she does them, she interweaves her daily life vlogging as she's talking about the masterclass that she's taking. I knew I couldn't do that. So I just had to find a way that I could do it and make it me. And hopefully that would be good enough. And it's always hard following the statistical, the algorithm, and trying to please the algorithm. So I don't really try. I mean, I do try. I'm not going to say that I don't. It's just that if I focus on the numbers so much, I'll drive myself crazy.
Yes.
So I try not to. I found myself freaking out the other day because I was at 592 subscribers and now I'm at 587. And I'm like, oh my God, where did I lose these 5? What happened? What did I do? And I was like, oh, wait. I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Well, and let me just say this. I mean, that happens to me all the time, right? I mean, and what I mean by that is anytime and you're close to it because you're at 590. So when you get close to a milestone, YouTube will check your account and remove closed accounts, dead accounts. If an account hasn't been opened in 180 days, they'll remove its subscribers. If there's been any strikes against it or reports against it, they can assume it's a bot and take it off. So anytime I get close to a milestone, like I'm close to 750, I'll lose a few the closer I get to it. You know what I mean? They'll take a few away. So don't be discouraged by that. That happens. And here's what I'll say about the statistics as somebody who loves that stuff. What I have now learned is even at 700 and whatever I'm at now, my statistics at 700 are better than they were at 600. And that's not like I'm doing better. It means YouTube is giving me more data. Like I'm seeing more, where I almost think until you get to 600 or so, you're not seeing the whole spectrum. And also I don't check them every day. In fact, I don't check them every week. I check them about every 2 and then sometimes once a month, but usually every 2 weeks. And remember, you need 2 weeks of data on any video to have a real picture of how it performed.
Right.
Now, I can tell you Critique Group Live, our last episode, is not performing well, but that's because I've done them for a year. And so I know the views it should have by today at this time. And I know we're low, so it happens. But those are just little things. So don't get down on yourself about the stats. It happens. What has been the easiest part of building your author platform?
The community.
Surprisingly, that's my answer too. Right? The people, this community.
I love the people in this community. I know some people will say to AuthorTube it's toxic. I don't see that. It's also not dead.
Those are both clickbait words.
I know.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
But it's like, I don't see the toxicity. And I don't know if it's just because I'm in some kind of bubble and I just tune out all of the negative stuff. But I just see the positive people and the positive encouragement and the affirmations. And that's what I lean into.
I think it's what you make it. Right? It's if you decide it's something else for you, then it will be. All right. So we're going to take a quick moment and the audience is going to get the treat of a lifetime. So we're going to take a quick moment to hand it off to my friend and collaborator on this show, Sam Wicker, for Sam's Den. She is interviewing Enuel. I cannot wait for it. We'll see you on the flip side.
Hey everybody, this is your Sam with Sam's Den. Welcome to part of an interview within an interview, kind of an inception. And we are here today with Enuel. Enuel, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel?
Oh, sure. Hello, my name is Enuel. I have a YouTube channel, also named Enuel Caraballo. What I do there is live streams every Thursday. Minimalist bullet journal setups, and I do it yourself timers, and I'm starting to grasp the idea of vlogging more. So that's what my channel is about at this moment.
Vlogging is a beast that I think we all need to tackle.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the questions. So question number 1 that I have for you is, what made you start an AuthorTube channel?
Back in 2000, when the pandemic really hit, Marissa Mohi started a Monday through Friday daily live stream. And everybody that was kind of bored, that was writers, didn't have nothing else to do, they couldn't work. They all came together and we started writing on, it was a live stream that we all wrote. After 6 months or 8 months, I think she may have done the whole year. I decided I have to do it as well. Like, it's something that I appreciated her so much, and I want to kind of give back. And I've heard so much about. I've always followed everybody, almost everybody on YouTube, on AuthorTube. Excuse me. That's how I. That's the first idea of AuthorTube and being on YouTube first started.
Nice. All right. So, question number 2: what do you hope your channel contributes to your viewers?
Oh, that's a great question. I hope that it contributes. Mainly at this moment, it's productivity. I hope whatever you're doing in the world, you can come to my live streams and be productive. But more than that, if nothing else, I want community. I love the AuthorTube community. I just want to add to it and build my friendships in AuthorTube. And yeah, that's my biggest thing right now: productivity and community.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Question number 3: how do you want to publish, like traditional, indie, or do you want to be a hybrid?
Indie. Everyone, like when I was young, I always wanted to do traditional. I kind of heard the horror stories. Really, indies. Since I started writing in 2000, it's been indie all the way. So I'm not saying I would never do traditionally, but right now it's indie.
Awesome. Okay. What comes to you first? The scene, the character, the plot, the setting, or something else?
I'm gonna say the setting.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna explain it because I may be wrong. What normally happens when I think of an idea is, I know that there's this big game, and what happens if the All-American football player is dating, specifically white town, is black All-American, is engaged to and married to a white woman, and at the end of that game, they're both murdered. And I'll start writing from there. Like the idea, I think, is more than the setting.
Okay, so just like an initial idea.
Initial idea, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. What's inspired your current work in progress?
I've been doing a podcast with my daughter, and we do that every Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And the current work in progress I have now is a serial killer story that I kind of mimic a little bit on one of the cases that we already did. My writing, I'm not going to say I 100% want to write like him, but James Patterson always inspires my writing.
Who is or are your favorite authors?
Okay, yeah, James Patterson, John Grisham, Stephen King, and Charles Dickens.
Nice. And they are very prolific writers too.
Yeah.
And if you could meet one of your favorite authors, what would you ask them or say to them?
Because I always say I want to meet Charles Dickens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I actually have a question for him, but the only thing that comes to the top of my brain right now is, how did you come up with the story of Oliver Twist? And then follow up would be Great Expectations. Where did that come from?
Right.
You know,
I would like to know that too.
yeah.
And do you have a favorite motivational quote?
Not that I could think of the top of my head right now, but if you follow my Instagram, you'll find a lot of them. I love them all.
Right. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, yeah.
Enuel's Instagram link will be down below, and you can look at all the motivational quotes because they are inspiring and they have uplifted my day a lot.
Oh, I appreciate that.
All right. And have you ever picked up a book just because of the cover?
I can't say I have. I've picked up a book that I'm like, oh, that's a nice cover. Turned it around, and I'm like, oh, I need this. Like what? I always looked at the cover first,
right?
But I can't, without just say, I like the cover, I'm taking it with me. No.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if I like the back page or the inside cover, I'm taking. Yeah. So yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Cover catches your eye first, and then you got to get the blurb.
I got to get the blurb, but that's right.
What do you look for in a book?
First of all, it has to make sense. Like if you're writing a true crime, like if you're writing a crime story, like make it work. But the character, most importantly, is if the character's strong, I can't put it down. I have to fall in love with the character, and then like really character, and make sure that whatever you're writing makes sense to me, whatever that is.
Gotcha. What's your loftiest or highest goal that you have set for yourself?
When I talk about accomplishing goal,
well, a goal that you want to accomplish.
So there's a couple within YouTube. My loftiest goal is hitting 1,000 subscribers, which now that I've been here a year and change, I know how hard that's going to be. And then in my writing, I want to publish a book fully, and I know that's going to take time because I want to go through every process and learn every bit of it as I go.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have a writing quirk? Like you have to have tea beside you, you have to have like a candle lit, you have to have some kind of like NCIS soundtrack going on.
Okay, gotcha. Not really. The only quirk is that I have to be mentally stable to do it and a computer to write it in.
Gotcha. And last but probably the most important question, do you think Rick and Barrett should get a bulldog?
Yes, I should get a bulldog.
Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. Thank you for the invitation. I loved it. Yes, can't wait.
Thank you for watching, everyone. And just so you know, Enuel is one of the most supportive people that I know here on AuthorTube. So let's show him some love and go subscribe to his channel and start watching his videos. Thank you again.
Sam, thank you so much for that segment. I loved it. I loved getting to know Enuel better. I enjoy hopping in Enuel's writing sprints and can't wait for Enuel getting into the blogging space. That makes me super excited. So Enuel, thank you for being the first guest on this segment, Sam's Den. And Sam, thank you so much for the hard work. I cannot wait for this collaboration together on Barrett Laurie Live. Thank you. Are you ready for the next segment? This one's really heavy.
Okay, yes.
What craft book or advice do you swear by?
Oh, I don't know if I swear by anything, but I do love Stephen King's On Writing. I know it's very controversial. Some people really love it and some people really hate it. There's no in between, I find. But I love it. I think Stephen King, it's Stephen King. So
he's done okay. He's done okay for himself,
He's done really okay for himself.
He's sold a few books, so it's like he might know what he's talking about.
He might. He may.
How extensively do you outline?
A lot. My outlines are usually at least 10 pages.
I love that. That is so goals. I do that too. I'm an over outliner, so you got a friend in me on that front.
I have to outline everything. I don't always stick to the outline. And I think that's the misconception that people seem to always have. I don't want to outline because it's boring. I'm like, but you don't have to stick to the outline. It's just a structure to bring you back if you veer off track. My stories often take me off outline, but at least I have a focal point to come back to when I look at the outline and say, okay, wait, I'm getting too far off base here. Where was I? Where was I going with this storyline? Yeah. And some things may change and some things may shift. I definitely heavy outline.
That's
and
good.
Character sketches.
I love that. I think that's a good thing. I had a writing instructor one time that told us this. There was a person in the class who was really pushing back on him for needing to outline. And they kept saying, I don't want to be stuck to that. I don't want to feel like I have to write within the outline. And I loved what he said back to him, which was the outline is your map. It's not autopilot. And so that has stuck with me, that it's like my atlas. It's like I know the general journey I'm going on. It's likely to change. Like I'm going to hop off a little early to get gas here. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
But I know where I'm heading. If you're a planner like me,
it's like a road trip. It's okay if you take a few detours.
Totally. So I'm sure that ours is different for this. But what is your writing kryptonite? Since mine is Instagram, then I know for a fact that is not yours. So what is your writing kryptonite?
Facebook.
See, I was going to say it's the baby.
Oh.
I was gonna say
Okay.
baby. Baby is
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
already
Oh,
kryptonite.
I thought we were talking about just like social media. Yes,
Oh.
I am currently babysitting on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
The
And
sweetest little baby. You got to watch the vlogs just for the baby snuggums in the middle.
he is
Oh,
adorable and sweet, but he just does not let me do anything during the
no.
day. My writing has been thrown off a bit by the integration of babysitting, but it's okay. It's fine. He's worth it.
Oh, it looks like so much fun. It looks like so much fun. I want to be there to help you babysit because you guys do not even know. Like the cheeks are just so smushable. It's not even it's a baby that's mostly cheeks, and it's just like, oh, I can't, little roly poly. So, what does literary success look like to you? How do you define it for yourself?
When I am able to comfortably make a living off of nothing but writing, to me, that will be success. And it doesn't have to be, I don't have to be rich. It would be nice. I would not turn down a boatload of money, but
Same. Give us the money. We'll take it.
I just want to not have to worry about, am I going to be able to provide? Am I going to be able to keep a roof over my head? Am I going to be able to travel if I want to travel? To not have to do, to agonize over making a purchase because I don't know if I'm going to need this money later on for something else. I just want to not have to do that anymore.
Now for the tough one.
Oh,
these are the
boy.
these are the deep emotional questions.
Okay.
Let
me get ready.
So number one, you know all about it by now. And actually, I think I know what your word is. And anybody who's been in chat with us also knows what your word is. But tell us what your word is for 2022 and why is it your word?
Perseverance. And it's my word because I need to constantly remind myself to keep going, keep pushing, persevere, if you will. Because so many times I come close to quitting. You guys have no idea. There are times I just want to throw it all away and just be like, you know what? It's not working. I give up. I'm just going to go do something regular and be done with it. Writing is just like breathing for me. And I just have to persevere. I can't do anything else.
For any writer, I think perseverance is important, whether you're going trad pub or self pub, right? Because essentially we need it for trad pub, you need it to get through the rejections. And I think for self pub, you need it to just push through tough times. You need to push through, not getting the sales maybe you thought you'd get, or sales dropping off after a release and then trying to figure out how to bump back up. Like this too shall pass, and it's all a learning curve. And you just have to keep persisting because something will give. And so I love that. I think that's a really good and strong guiding light and word. What wisdom can you leave with us today that is unique to you and your journey?
I would say don't quit, don't give up, and don't listen to the people who tell you can't do it. So many people will tell you you're never going to be anything, it's not working, just give up already, go do something regular, go be normal people. And you just have to tune that out and not listen. If I had listened to my mother, for instance, who always made sure to tell me I would never do anything with my life, I don't know that I would still be writing because she didn't think I could be a good writer. So just tune people out. Don't worry about them. You will find your people. Maybe you're an AuthorTube, but you will find your people who believe in you, and they may not be your family, and it's okay.
There's a reason found family tropes are some of my favorites. And I think that's true for a lot of us who have fractured families or folks in our family that are less than supportive. I think that for us, found family, the people that we choose to make our family, is often some of the people we need the most. And some of those people we were born to the least.
Right.
JC, this has been lovely.
I'm so honored that you had me on.
So fun. I'm so glad you were so open with us and we had such a great discussion. I want you to tell folks one more time the 2 books that are out and available right now for people to purchase so they can run and buy them immediately.
Okay. The Diary, Succession of Lies, The Art of Love, my poetry collection can both be found on Amazon. I'm sure the links is in the description box.
Yes. And this year, we have some new books coming from you, so we'll keep cheering you on for those as we go. And we'll be cheering you on with the new shows you have coming on AuthorTube. And I can't wait to announce our show because it's going to be a ton of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have you back on. I have no doubt about that. As soon as you have a release, you'll be right back here plugging it with me, I hope. So
Yeah, I definitely will.
With that, we're going to tell everybody goodbye and just hang out with the rest of our time.
Okay. Bye.